We've been blowing up all about this whole thing with NAR and how amazing it's going to be for some, how it's not going to be amazing for real estate agents. But what I keep on missing, what I don't hear enough about, is how it's affecting the buyers. Yes, we've seen how it can possibly affect buyers in general in a great way, but some buyers are being pushed off to the side and not even talked about in the media. So I wanted to address it. But first, I remember when I first started in real estate back in 2004, it was my last semester in college. And I transitioned into real estate. And I loved it because I was helping out my first set of clients. All of them practically were first-time home buyers, low income, primarily Hispanic and the Black community. I'm bilingual. I'm Mexican, so I speak Spanish fluently. And that was my big set of first clients. And what I noticed from the very beginning is that most of the people I was helping barely had enough money to put down as a down payment. And what's not being talked about is sidelining these sets of first-time home buyers, low-income families that won't be able to work really well with this new settlement, if it's a proposed settlement, if it goes through as it stands. And so what I want to bring to light for everybody watching is the reality of things, because we keep on missing what's actually going to happen if we go into it the way it stands. And I interviewed someone from Australia just to show you how it will look to have a world where you almost have no buyer representation, because there's something called a fiduciary responsibility in the world of real estate where I come from. And I have this document for you that goes through what is fiduciary, what are the responsibilities, and it goes deep into it. What I wanted to show you on this one is this specifically. There's 4 pages on what fiduciary means. There's been a lot of lawsuits. Why? Because it's so important. But here is, to me, an important thing. It says, besides making sure that you're taking care of whoever you're representing, right? Integrity, all that great stuff. It says, in addition, this requires that a licensee refrain from dual representation in a real estate sales transaction unless he or she obtains a consent of both principals after a disclosure. And there's a reason for that. Dual representation in some states is illegal. In the state that I'm in, California, no problem, as long as we disclose it. What's going to happen? Because on the selling side, as the listing agent, I have a fiduciary duty to the seller. That means I'm going to do everything possible, like my interview with the Australian gentleman, saying, hey, I'm going to do everything possible to get the most money for my seller, to take care of my seller. So number one, if the buyer is going around an agent, buyer's agent, and going directly to the home, which we see right now, by the way, it's no different. And they say, hey, you know what? I want to work here. And the seller's like, hey, you know what? We don't want you to represent him or her or them. We only want you to represent us, right? So do whatever you can to get us the best price. The negotiation on the buyer's side, especially someone that can't afford a great agent, which we'll get into, that goes out to the side. Who's taking care of the actual buyer? Not the savvy investor who's going through and trying to save money to get an amazing home. Not the investor. Not the agent. Not the consumer who's done this before. It's that consumer who doesn't know what they're getting into because they've never done this. They don't know what to ask for. They don't know what the rules are. They don't know what the possible situations are going to be. And the thing is, you're starting to see the talk of these companies coming up and saying, yeah, we can charge to write up a contract. We can charge to do this and break it down for you. But the thing is, the buyers who have never owned a home and are owning it for the first time ever, through generations. First one, they don't know what to ask for. They don't even know what to do. And my fiduciary duty is to the seller. So in essence, I really don't care about you as a buyer. And so that, to me, is number one. It's the glaring one. Second one, when we're looking at the Latino community, right, and the Black community, this is where we get a little bit real, because I've seen it before, and it's steering. Because if me, as an agent, and, let's say I'm not the greatest agent, and in any profession you have both, right? Not the greatest and the most amazing. And I'm like, I need to make some money. And I want to go and put these sets of clients over here because they're paying me. Because low income, they can't pay me. So I'm going to go make sure that they end up over here. Whether it's not just a specific community that's paying me more, or a lender that's giving me some type of a kickback or something. The challenge is this. When I was helping out first-time home buyers and low income at the beginning, the way that it was designed before, as imperfect as it was, it bundled it all in to the purchase price. And it allowed these low-income families, it allowed these consumers, the sets of consumers, to be able to purchase with the lowest amount of money. And we haven't even gotten into VA buyers, which is the next one. We're sidelining those as it currently stands. The veterans and FHA, it's already hard enough to get these offers. This is the real part. It's hard enough to get these VA buyers sometimes getting accepted because the seller, and in some case the agent, has no clue how amazing these loans are because they just haven't been exposed to it enough. And so now if a buyer comes in who's a VA, because the VA as it currently stands doesn't allow any compensation to the agent, they're going to go directly possibly to the seller. And that listing agent will be like, oh, you know what, VA, 100% financing? No, what's this? But you know what? We're just going to wait for a different offer that has a down payment. Is that real? Yeah, we've seen it before. And you, if you're a real estate agent, you've definitely seen it before. That's reality. You have no one fighting for you. And so when we're looking at this deeper, the next one is agent choices. Agent choices has a lot of different routes. And I wrote this down because I made it more along the lines of this. All agents aren't created equal. It's just like attorneys. You have some amazing attorneys, and then you have those assigned by the courts, right? You show up, you're like, hey, I don't have representation. The court assigns you one. I doubt that we're going to go there in real estate, where the government is going to assign you an agent because you just can't afford one. And then what do you typically end up with? You end up with somebody new, somebody who has a lot of cases, somebody not that great typically. And so the great agents that you're not going to be able to afford as a first-time home buyer or a low income or a special program, those agents you can't afford are negotiating deals for everybody else. And so now the agent choices dwindle down, and you end up with either agents who don't know what they're doing, who will have costly mistakes, who will cost you a lot of money because you just can't afford one. This is the situation that we're in. And then the one that I've got here to end it, because there are a lot, these are just 5, is discrimination. And this already happens. I've seen it. Discrimination happens. Now, it doesn't happen everywhere. And some of you may see it, some of you may not see it. And that's okay. When you're of a certain kind, you get to see it, right? You get to see it more than others. And so discrimination does happen. And think of this process when a buyer is not represented and they're low income and their skin color is a little different. There's discrimination. And this just puts it right in the front. And so you've got to be careful. These are some of the things that we're not talking about. I haven't seen any articles on this. I haven't seen anyone really outside of our Facebook group, Lab Coat Agents. I haven't really seen anybody talk about this. And this is what the media needs to be focused on. These are real issues because this can become really predatory super fast. When the buyer doesn't have real representation, good real representation, where nobody has a fiduciary responsibility to the buyer, they're going to get screwed. They're going to. It's natural. Look, the world that we live in, there are wars. People hate each other. They go and get lawsuits. Shit happens. That's the real world. So buyers are going to be taken advantage of 100%. Just wanted to put that out there. Hopefully, the settlement changes as it gets closer to getting passed. And I don't think these lawsuits are over, but let's keep an eye on it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm missing anything. I'm always learning with you here. So if you want to add anything, you want to comment, I'll put it on there. Maybe I missed something. I just appreciate you listening and learning together with me on this. Have an awesome day.